Hi guys, Mr. Mackey here. Now yesterday we were doing place value again, and what we were doing is we had our 10, 100 and 1000s and seeing how that would influence the place value of numbers. So the task I set you last night was, I gave you this number, 10,326.924, and I wanted you to times it by 100, divide it by 1000, and then what did I do to give you this number? So because we're timesing it for the first one, we are going in this direction. Now, how many times are we moving our decimal in this direction? Well, how many zeros are there in 100? There's 2, so we move it 1, 2. So we move that decimal to here. So 10,326.924 times by 100 will be 1,032,692.4. So what if we're dividing it by 1000? Well, because dividing is the opposite to timesing, we're going to be moving our decimal in the opposite direction. But how many times do we move it? Well, how many zeros are there in 1000? There's 3. So we move it 1, 2, 3. So we move our decimal from there to there, meaning that 10,326.924 divided by 1000 becomes 10.32694. You need to make sure you include all those digits to get it right. So the final question is, I have the number 1032.6924. What did I do to go from this number to this number? Now, as I showed you yesterday, I always add some zeros at the end, and I add some zeros at the beginning, just in case if we are going that far. We may not, but it's just that good to remember. So, the first question I asked myself, is this number smaller than the original? So, because it is smaller, we are going to be dividing. And because we're dividing, we are moving our decimal in this direction. So, let's start off by dividing by 10. What happens? Well, because there's 1 0, we move our decimal to here. And that becomes 1032.6924. They are exactly the same. So all you have to do to go from the original answer to this answer is divide it by 10. So today we're going to be adding and subtracting decimals. Now there is a trick that I've picked up while I've been tackling this topic that I now use whenever I am adding, subtracting, multiplying or dividing decimals. And it's called removing and reminding. All you need to know to be able to tackle this topic and the trick I'm going to teach you is to watch episode 1 of my video where I'm doing addition, and episodes 6 and 7 of my videos where I tackle place value. So, how we're going to use this trick is we're going to focus on this question here. 14.6 plus 5.39. So step 1, which I've put here nicely for you, is we are going to column it. So I'm going to do that now. 3, 2, 1. Here we go. I have now put this sum into a full column. Or have I? What have I forgotten? Now remember, whenever I do a column method, I always add zeros when there are gaps. Because then you know that you're adding at least 9 onto something or 1 onto something. You know you're doing that. You're not just filling in blanks. So, that's step 1. I've columned it. Now step 2, the removal. Because I don't really like decimals, especially in adding, subtracting, I'm going to remove the decimal. How am I going to do that? Well, I'm just going to rub it out and put it in the reminder box. But I'm going to mark a little red arrow and you'll know why in a minute. So I've removed the decimals and I've now ended up with 1,460 plus 539. So what am I going to do? I'm now going to add them. I'm going to get on with it. Been a while since you heard me say that, haven't you? So, 0 and 9. Well, start with 0, add 9 to it. You will end up with 9. So let's put the 9 there. 6 and 3. You start off with 6. You add 3 to it. You will end up with 9. 4 and 5. You start off with 4. You add 5 to it. You will end up with, what do you know? Another 9. Very popular today. And finally, 1 and 0. You got 1. You're adding nothing. So you're ending up with just 1. And that's it. Or is it? We've removed our decimal, and now the remind part. We need to put that decimal back. But where do we put it? Well, that's what the red arrow was for. That was where the decimal was originally placed. So we put it back where it originally was, and because it's in line, that's where it will go in the answer. So it lines up. So the actual answer to the question is 19.99. So what about subtraction? Is that any different to adding, apart from it's subtracting? Well, let's see. Let's move on to step 1. We're going to column this problem. So now that I've columned it, what's the next step? We're going to remove the decimal. So I'm going to move this decimal into this box as a reminder, and we're going to mark with a red arrow where it was. So let's now get on with it. What's 5 minus 1? Start with 5 fingers, take away 1, you end up with 4. What's 6 minus 3? Start with 6 fingers, take away 3, you end up with 3. 7 minus 2. Start with 7 fingers, minus 2, you end up with 5. So, 765 minus 231 gets us 534. But that's not the question we were doing. We now need to put that decimal back. This is the reminder. So now we move that decimal back to here and here, thanks to the arrow. And to make it in line, we then put the decimal here. So the actual answer is 5.34. Now, the most common problem people have whenever they're doing addition and subtraction of decimals are, what about if there's a whole number with no decimals plus or subtracting a decimal? So we're going to do this question, 8 plus 1.623. Now, what's step 1? We column it. So let's column it. We've now columned it. Or have we? Remember, we need to fill in the blanks. So there's going to be a 0 here, and a 0 here, and a 0 here. But is that number 8,000? No, it's 8. So we need to put a decimal point because it's still a number. So we line up the decimals. That's how I knew where to put the 8. Spoiler. So now, next step, we remove the decimals. And I just drew one as well. Bad timing. So remove this decimal, put it in the reminder box, and then mark with a little red pen where they were. Now, let's add them. 0 and 3, that gets us, well, 3. 0 and 2, that gets us 2. 0 and 6, that gets us 6. 8 and 1 gets us 9. And now we put our decimal back. Take out the reminder box, put it here, and because it's lined up, we put it here. So the answer to this problem is 9.623. But what if we're minusing it? That's going to be a bit more tricky, isn't it? Because we're taking away a decimal from a whole number. Well, let's see. Firstly, we're going to column this answer. Fantastic, I have now fully columned this problem. Or have I? I need to put the zeros in. 0, 0, 0. Because we still need to line it up. Now I need to remove the decimals. Put them in the reminder box and indicate with a little red arrow where the decimals were. Now we can get on with it. So I will. 0 take away 3. We can't do that. So because the 3 is too big. So we're going to move to the neighbour. Does the neighbour have a little hat to put on this 0? No, it doesn't. Because it's a 0. So we're going to move to this 0. Does this 0 have a hat to put on there? It doesn't. So it's going to move to his next neighbour. What do you know? The 8 does have a hat. So it's going to turn itself into a 7. And it's going to give the hat to that 0, turning it to a 10. But that's not going to help that 0. That 0 still needs a hat. So he's going to go to that 0 again the next day. Knock, knock, do you have a hat? No, I don't. But my neighbour now does. So that 0 is now going to go to there. That neighbour's going to turn itself into a 9 and put a hat on that 0, turning it into a 10. The next day comes. That 0 still wants a hat. So it's going to go to his neighbour. What do you know? The neighbour finally has a hat. The Amazon order finally arrived. So that's going to turn itself into a 9 and put a hat on that 0, turning it into a 10. We can now do this problem. What's 10 take away 3? We start with 10 fingers, take away 3. You will end up with 7. 9 take away 2. You start with 9 fingers, take away 2. You will end up with 7. 9 take away 6. You start with 9 fingers, take away 6. You'll end up with 3. 7 take away 1. Start with 7 fingers. You take away 1. You end up with 6. And that's the answer. Or is it? We still have the decimal to put in. So we get rid of the reminder and we put it back where the red arrow's telling us. There and there. And to make it in line, we put it there as well. So the actual answer is 6.377. So it really isn't that different to normal addition and subtraction. You just need to remember to take the decimal out and then put it back when you're done. So here is your challenge tonight. I'm going to give you a question and I want you to solve it. So I went to the shops today to buy some essential shopping, because that's what shops are for. Now I had £10 to start. In this shopping trip I bought some shampoo, which cost me £1.60. I also bought a loaf of bread, which cost me 75p. And I also bought a carton of milk, which cost me a grand total of £2.38, because I bought like a big 4-pint one. So here's 2 questions. Question 1, how much did I spend? And secondly, what was my change? So I had a tenner on me, I had £10, I spent £1.60, 75p and £2.38. How much did I spend in total? And then what was my overall change? You've got till tomorrow to work this out. Good luck. And don't forget to share this video, subscribe to my channel, and comment below if there's any topics that you or your child are struggling with, because we need to keep our children learning. This is definitely a topic that I know children at the school I worked with struggled with, so I hope that the children at home can improve thanks to what I've taught today. Please type that down below in the comments any topics that you're not sure about, and I will put up a video going over it. Good luck with this problem and any other problems that are coming. We will get through this together.